Hello, welcome to Meeplecare. My name is Nicolas and today I would like to show you how to set up and play Gloomies. Gloomies is a game for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, that plays in about 60 minutes. The game is published by Ravensburger. Now before we go and plant some galaxy flowers, I would kindly ask you to hit the like and subscribe button. And a small caveat, at the moment of me recording this video, there is no English rulebook available. So I might be using different names for game components or game phases than the ones that you can find in your rulebook. But I'm confident that you will be able to follow along and learn how to play Gloomies. These are the Gloomies. They are small creatures from a distant galaxy that love colorful flowers. And most of all, they like to decorate themselves with these flowers. It's your job, as a field Gloomie, to grow and harvest these beautiful flowers. You don't have to do all the work on your own. You can count on the help of your little helpers. Once you have planted and harvested flowers, you can use them to decorate the Gloomies or yourself. The player who does this the best will be the winner of the game. Now, before you can start growing and harvesting flowers, let me show you how to set up the game. First, you will assemble the game board inside the game box. To do this, you first take this board that has flower pictures on it. During later games, for more variety, you can flip or rotate the board to create a different pattern each time you play. Then you place this board with the holes on top of it. Through the holes, you can see the pictures of the flowers. We call this complete board the field. These are the flowers that we will plant in our galaxy field. There are 4 types of flowers. We have moon lilies, orbit flowers, sun thistles, and galaxy poppies. Place all 60 wooden flower tokens inside this storage ball and place it next to the playing field. Shuffle all the bonus tokens and make 8 stacks of 3 random tokens. Each token has a lilac and a turquoise side. For the first phase of the game, all the bonus tokens must have their lilac side facing up. On the game board, you have this lilac side and a turquoise side. You now place the 8 stacks of 3 random tokens with their lilac side facing up into these 8 indentations on the lilac side of the game board. The turquoise side remains empty for now, but these indentations will be used during phase 2 of the game. These are the Gloomie cards. One of the ways to score points during the game will be to decorate these Gloomies with the flowers that you harvest from the field. You now shuffle all 16 Gloomie cards and you create a face down deck. Turn the 3 topmost cards of this deck face up. You place them next to the deck of Gloomie cards to create a Gloomie display. This symbol is the Gloomie symbol and you will also find this symbol on the bonus tokens on the game board. As you can already see, different Gloomies require different flowers to be decorated. These are the flower cards. In the game you have 60 of these cards. They will either show you one of the 4 types of flowers, or you also can find some wild cards. You will be able to use these wild flower cards as one of the 2 types of flower that you can find on the card. For example, I can use this wild card either as a sun thistle or as a galaxy poppy. Shuffle the 60 flower cards and place them in a face down deck. You flip the 3 topmost cards of this deck to create the flower display. These little helpers will help you during the game to plant and harvest flowers. You can place all of the little helpers off to the side near the game box. Now each player takes a player board and places it with its lilac side facing up in front of them. You will use this turquoise side during phase 2 of the game. Next up, you determine who will be the starting player. Perhaps this can be the player who last gifted someone a nice bouquet of flowers. Depending on where you are in player order, you will now draw a certain number of flower cards and receive a number of these little helpers. The first player draws 4 flower cards and also gets 1 little helper. The second player in turn order gets 5 cards and 1 little helper. The third player 4 cards and 2 little helpers. And the fourth player in turn order gets to draw 5 cards and 2 little helpers. Place your little helpers next to your player board and keep your flower cards hidden from the other players. To finish this setup, place all the remaining game components next to the playing field in a general supply. These components are the Stardust tokens and the Victory Point tokens. To better show you how the game is played, I will now move some of these components off to the side. A game of Gloomies consists of 2 phases. In the first phase, the planting phase, players take turns in turn order, playing cards from their hand to plant the matching flower on the field. Players will plant flowers starting from this arrow side. Once every open spot in the field has been filled up to this white line, the planting phase ends. You will then perform a first scoring, in which you score victory points for the number of flower cards that you played and the number of Stardust tokens that you have gathered. The more cards you played and the more tokens you have gathered, the more points you will earn. This phase is then followed by a second phase, the harvest phase. Again, in turn order, each player will now use their previously played cards to remove flowers from the field, and they will place these flowers on their own Gloomie card or on any Gloomie cards that they have collected during phase 1 of the game. As soon as the field has been harvested again up to this white line, this phase ends and you then perform a second scoring. During this final scoring, you score points for decorated Gloomies, including yourself, your collection of Stardust tokens, and any unused little helpers. Once this second scoring took place, the game ends. During your turn, you will also have a chance to gain these bonus tokens. These bonus tokens can be extra helpers, extra Gloomies, or flower or Stardust tokens. You can then use these tokens during the game. Whoever has collected the most points after both phases wins the game. Let's start by taking a look at each of these 2 phases in more detail. First up, it's the planting phase. During this phase, in turn order, each player will now take a turn. Your turn consists of the 3 steps that you can see on your player board. First, you will play up to 3 cards from your hand that you will use to plant flowers in the field. Then you get a bonus depending on the position of the last flower that you have planted. And finally, at the end of your turn, you will take 1 or 2 new flower cards from the display. When you have finished your turn, the next player in turn order takes a turn. All players keep on taking turns again until all the open spots in the field have been filled up to this white line. Then phase 1 ends and the first scoring takes place. But let's start with the first step and plant some flowers. As a first step in your turn, you will now play up to 3 cards from your hand to plant the flowers. Before I show you how to do that, let's take a closer look at our galactic field. The field is divided into 6 rows, and each row has 8 spots where you can plant a flower. Each turn you will choose exactly 1 of these 6 rows to start planting. You can then play a maximum of 3 flower cards to plant that many flowers. The cards you played must correspond to the type of flowers that can be seen in these planting spots. But you always start at the edge of the board with the white arrow, and starting from there you will plant flowers in each of the first empty spots that you encounter. It's very important to know that from the moment that you have chosen a row and started planting flowers, You cannot change a row and you cannot skip an empty space to continue planting on another space. Before I show you some examples of this, I must first tell you how these little helpers can help you when you are planting flowers. When you play your cards to plant flowers, you can discard any number of these little helpers to plant extra flowers. For each of these little helpers that you discard, you can play an extra card. So if you discard one little helper, you can now play 4 instead of 3 cards and plant 4 instead of 3 flowers. Again, just like when you are planting flowers with your cards, you can't use a little helper to plant in another row than the one that you have chosen. Now let's stop talking and plant some flowers. It's my turn and I have these 4 cards in my hand. 2 orbit flowers, 1 galaxy poppy and 1 moon lily. If we take a look at the field, you can see that some of the planting spots have already been filled. As I already mentioned, you pick one row to plant all your flowers. You have to start planting in the first free spot that is closest to the arrow in the row that you have chosen. And you can't skip any open planting spots. Let's take a look at each of the 6 rows and what my possibilities would be with my hand of cards. Row 1 is still completely empty. If I look at my hand of cards, I could first play this card to plant an orbit flower in the first spot, and I can then play this galaxy poppy to fill the second spot. And although I have a matching moon lily for this planting spot, I'm not allowed to skip empty planting spots, so this would be all that I can plant in this row. In the second row, I cannot use any of my flower cards, because I have to fill the first open planting spot and I don't have a matching sun tistle. Not being allowed to skip any empty spaces, I cannot use my cards to plant flowers in the second row. The third row is a very good option to use my cards. Starting from the white arrow, I have 1, 2, 3 matching cards that I can use to fill up these first 3 planting spots. As you can see, I also have a matching card for this 4th spot in the row. However, I'm only allowed to play 3 cards from my hand. But remember these little helpers? You could now discard one of these little helpers to play that 4th card and fill up this 4th space in the row. In row 4, I can only play 2 cards. I have these 2 matching cards, but I don't have a card that matches this 5th space. Just like with this second row, I don't have a matching card to fill the first empty spot of this row, so I can't plant any flowers in this row. For the 6th row, I only have 2 matching cards, so I could plant in the 5th and in the 6th spot. So the best row for me to plant the most flowers that I can plant is this 3rd row, in which, with a little help from my little helper, I am able to plant 4 flowers. For my second example, I have this hand of 2 cards, a galaxy poppy and a wild card. On each wild card, you can see 2 types of flowers. Here, you can see a picture of a flower that is a mix of a sun tistle and an orbit flower. So I can use this 1 card to plant either a sun tistle or an orbit flower. Again, in this example, there are already some flowers growing in the field. Let's look at my options. For row 1, I can use my wild flower to plant an orbit flower on the first empty spot. And I can use my second card with the galaxy poppy to plant a flower in the second spot. I have no matching card to plant a flower in row 2 in the first empty spot. In row 3, I can use 1 card to plant a galaxy poppy. I cannot plant any plants in row 4, again because skipping an empty space is not allowed. In row 5, I can use my wild card to plant 1 flower, a sun tistle. And in this last row, again, I can only use my wild card to plant an orbit flower. So once you have chosen your row and placed the cards that you want to use in front of you, you then take the matching flowers from the supply and place them in the matching spots in that row. You then take the flower cards that you have played and you place them underneath your player board. Each card is played in the stack of the flower that you have planted with that card. If you have used a wild card, like I did, to plant this sun thistle, you place it in the stack of the flower that you planted with that card. If you don't want to play any cards, or you don't have any matching cards, you would skip step 2 of getting a bonus and go straight to step 3. As a consolation, however, you may take one little helper from the supply. Talking about step 2, let's see how you can receive a bonus. If you have grown at least one flower, you now get a bonus. You will now check the position of the last flower that you have planted during your turn. This of course will be the flower that is furthest away from the edge with the arrows. Now the bonus that you get depends on the column of where your planting spot is. I have filled this space and it's in this column, so I am now allowed to take this token. You can now take that token to gain that bonus. If there are no more bonus tokens in the stack, you don't get a bonus token. Let's see what you can do with these Lilac bonus tokens. You have 3 types of Lilac bonus tokens. Each bonus token shows you a picture of either a Stardust token, a Gloomie symbol, or a number of little helpers. If you gain a Stardust bonus token, you take one Stardust token from the supply and you place it next to your player board. You can collect as many as you want during the game, and the more Stardust tokens that you have collected, the more victory points you will receive during the 2 scoring phases of the game, but more on that later. With a bonus token that has the Gloomie symbol, you may now take one of the 3 Gloomie cards that are in the Gloomie display, and you place the card that you have chosen in front of you. This will be the Gloomie that you will try to decorate with the flowers that you will harvest during the second phase of the game. If you gain a bonus token with a number of little helpers, you now take the shown number of little helpers from the supply and you place them next to your player board. During the last example, I gained this bonus token showing me 2 little helpers. So I can now take 2 little helpers from the supply and place them next to my player board. After you have received your bonus, you will not discard this token, because now you will flip the bonus token to its turquoise side and place it in the indentation of the same column, but on the opposite side of the board on the turquoise side. As you can see, each time when a player will gain a bonus token from this side, we will flip it and place it on the other side. This means that at the start of phase 2, these indentations will have stacks of turquoise bonus tokens. So since you can choose how many cards you play on your turn, you could choose to plant fewer flowers to receive a bonus that you really want from a corresponding column. At the end of your turn, during step 3, it's time to take new flower cards from the display and add them to your hand. It's not allowed to take cards from the face down flower deck. You can take either 1 wildflower card or 2 regular flower cards. Each time when a player takes a card, you immediately have to refill the display. If you have to refill the display and the flower deck is empty, all players would now skip step 3 of their turn for the rest of this phase. If you gained some little helpers during step 2, or if you have some left next to your player board from a previous turn, you may now use them. If you return 1 little helper to the supply, you may now take an extra normal flower card from the display. You can also return 2 little helpers to the supply to take a wild card. And you are also allowed to take 1 normal card from the display, and then instead of taking a second normal card, you could discard one little helper to take a wild card from the display. Before we take a look at how phase 1, the planting phase, ends, I do want to give you the following advice on taking new cards. When you score at the end of phase 1, each card that you have played in front of you counts as 1 point. But when you score at the end of phase 2, the 4 types of flowers that you will gather with the help of these cards have different scoring values. Moon lilies score you 1 point, you score 2 points for each sun tistle and each orbit flower, and you score 3 points for each galaxy poppy that you have on your board. Flowers that score you more points are less represented in the game. For example, there are 14 moon lilies in the game, but there are only 8 galaxy poppies present. So plan ahead as smartly as possible, because you don't only collect these flowers to place them on your own Gloomie card, but also pay attention to the Gloomie cards in front of you, because they will need the matching flowers to decorate them. Phase 1 ends after the turn in which the space of the field between the arrows and the white line is completely filled with flowers. It doesn't matter how many flowers are already behind the white line. The player who ended phase 1 will still complete their turn, including getting the bonus and drawing new cards. After that, you perform the first scoring. As you can see on your player board, each player now receives 1 victory point for each flower card that they played during phase 1. These are all the cards that you placed in the 4 stacks underneath your board. If you have 4 or more cards of one type of flower in a stack, you now double your points. So for this first stack I gain 3 points, here I gain 2 points, and here I gain another 2 points. So that's 7 points. But this stack of orbit flowers has 5 cards. So now I can double my points for that stack, scoring me 10 points. So for my flowers that I played during phase 1, I now score 17 points. Now, very important to know is that when you are playing a 2-player game, you will need 6 or more cards of a flower type to double your score. The next thing you score are your Stardust tokens. On your player board, you can see how many points you score for each number of collected Stardust tokens. I have collected 2 tokens. This scores me 3 points. If I add these 3 points to the 17 that I already had, I can now take 20 victory point tokens from the supply. Before we are ready to move on to the second phase of the game, the harvesting phase, we have to perform the following preparations. First, you remove any game components that you no longer need during phase 2 of the game. These are any leftover Lilac bonus tokens that are still on the board, any remaining flower and Gloomie cards that haven't been taken. You then flip your player board to its turquoise side, and you now create your own personal flower deck for phase 2. This deck consists of the cards that you have played and just scored, and any leftover hand cards. Shuffle these cards together to create a flower deck that you then place face down on the left side of your board. To finish these preparations, you now draw the top 4 flower cards from your personal flower deck and you keep them in your hand. Any leftover little helpers and Stardust tokens remain near your player board. You are now ready to start phase 2 of the game, the harvest phase. During phase 2, players keep taking turns in a clockwise order, starting with the player who would have had the next turn in phase 1. Just like in phase 1, your turn also consists of 3 steps. These are similar to the steps of phase 1, and you can again find those 3 steps on your player board. First, you will play up to 3 cards from your hand to harvest flowers from the field. Then you can get a bonus depending on the position of the last flower that you harvested. And finally, you draw 2 new cards from your personal flower deck. Phase 2 will end when all the flowers have been harvested in the space between the white arrows and the white line. Then you will perform a second scoring, after which the game ends. But let's start by harvesting the flowers. You harvest flowers in the same way as you plant them in phase 1. Select exactly one of the 6 rows each turn and also start harvesting at the edge of the field with the white arrows, working your way up to the white line. Just like when planting flowers, you are not allowed to change rows, and where during planting you couldn't skip any open planting spots, during harvesting you are not allowed to skip spaces that still have a flower. The wildcards work exactly as they did in phase 1. Of course, you don't have to remember what type of flower you used it for before, because now you can again choose to use it to harvest one of the 2 types of flowers that you can see on your flower card. With my hand of cards, I could harvest in the first row of the galaxy board. I have a matching blue card for the first one, a red card for the second one, and with my wild card, I choose to harvest this orange flower. And just like during phase 1, you are allowed to discard a number of little helpers to harvest an extra flower. So I'm allowed to discard this little helper, so I can add this card, and I can now harvest the first 4 flowers in this first row. So after choosing a row and playing my cards, I can now harvest the flowers from the field. After that, you will discard the flower cards that you played into a discard pile. Now, for each flower that you harvest, you have to immediately decide where you want to place it. If you harvest several flowers at once, you can place them in different locations. These 2 locations are either your Gloomie cards that you have collected during phase 1 or your player board with your own Gloomie on it. Let's first take a look at our Gloomie cards. You can place flowers on your collected Gloomie cards. Each Gloomie card requires a specific combination to complete it. You don't have to deliver all the flowers at once, and you can work on multiple Gloomies at the same time. On the right side of your Gloomie card, you can find a summary of the flowers that Gloomie wants to be decorated with. On the Gloomies themselves, you can see this bright representation of the flowers that are on the side. When decorating a Gloomie, you place the flowers on the matching flower dots on that Gloomie card. So I can place this sun tistle that I harvested on this card because it wants 2 sun tistles and 1 moon lily. So maybe I'm adding this moon lily to the same card. So I only need 1 other sun tistle to complete this card. And I place my galaxy poppy on this Gloomie card. During the second scoring, when you have fully decorated a Gloomie with the matching flowers, you will score the amount of points that you can see in the top left corner. However, if a card is not completed, you won't score any points, but you also won't lose any points. So at the moment, this Gloomie card would score me 8 points. If you don't have Gloomie cards that you can complete, or if you don't want to take the risk of not being able to complete a Gloomie's decoration, you can choose to use a harvested flower to decorate yourself by placing them on your player board. You can make 4 stacks of flowers, 1 stack for each of the flower types. There is no limit to the amount of flowers that you can have in each of these stacks. At the end of the game, each flower that you have placed in a stack will score you victory points based on its type. For each moon lily, you get 1 point. For each orbit flower or solar tistle, you get 2 points each. And for each galaxy poppy in the stack of galaxy poppies, you gain 3 points. So if I place this orbit flower on the stack with the orbit flowers, this would score me now 2 points. It's very important to remember that once you have placed a flower in one of these 2 locations, you are no longer allowed to move them to another location. Once you have finished step 1 of your turn, playing cards and harvesting flowers, You can again gain a bonus depending on the position of the last flower that you harvested. In my last example, this was the last flower that I have harvested. And if you look at the column, there is still a turquoise token left. You can then take that bonus token, receive the marked bonus, and then you remove the bonus token from the game. Let me show you what benefits you can get when you take a turquoise bonus token. There are 3 types of bonuses that you can collect. If your bonus token shows you a Stardust token, you can take 1 Stardust token from the supply, and during the second scoring at the end of phase 2, you will again receive points for all the Stardust tokens that you have collected and that you have at that time in your supply. Just keep in mind that you don't need to collect more than 6 Stardust tokens to reach the maximum number of points. So if you already have 6 Stardust tokens in your supply, you might want to pick another bonus token. Maybe this one. If you gain one of these flower bonus tokens, you can discard the token and take the matching flower from the supply. Just like you do when you harvest a flower by playing a card, you now immediately have to choose if you want to add it to a Gloomie card or to the Gloomie on your player board. If there is no flower of your token's color left in the supply, you are out of luck and you don't get a bonus flower. The last bonus token is a wildflower token. Discard the token and take one of the 4 types of flowers from the supply. And again, you add the flower that you have chosen to either your Gloomie cards or to your player board. And just like during phase 1, the amount of flowers that you want to harvest from a row might depend on the choice of bonus tokens that are still available. With my hand cards, I would be able to harvest these 2 flowers. This flower is the last one that I have harvested, so this would give me another blue flower that I can then place on one of my Gloomie cards or on my player board. But maybe I really want another red flower because I need it to complete a Gloomie card, so I could choose to only harvest the first flower and then collect the red flower from the supply. So as you can see, a lot of your choices depend on what you want to achieve. Do you just need more matching flowers to decorate yourself or the other Gloomies? Or do you want to collect some more Stardust tokens or bonus flower tokens that you can then again use to maybe place the last missing flower on your Gloomie cards? Or collect your 6th Stardust token that brings you from 11 to 15 points. At the end of your turn, during step 3, you now draw exactly 2 cards from your personal flower deck and you add them to your hand. It doesn't matter if you draw wild or regular cards. If your personal draw deck is empty, you are no longer able to draw any cards and you would skip step 3 of your turn and continue playing with your remaining hand of cards. And don't forget that just like during phase 1, when you draw the flower cards from the center of the table, you can again discard little helper tokens to take extra cards. So instead of 2, I can discard 1 little helper to draw 3 cards from my flower deck. After you have finished your turn, players keep taking turns in clockwise order until the part of the field between the arrow edge and the white line has been completely harvested. If this happens, it means that we have arrived at the end of phase 2, and it doesn't matter if there are still flowers behind the white line. The player who ends the phase is still entitled to take step 2 of their turn, collecting any bonuses and placing flowers on their cards, but that player would skip step 3, in which he or she would draw new cards. Now, on rare occasions, it might happen that you are unable to play a card because you don't have the matching flower card to perform a harvest, and that you can't draw any cards because your personal draw deck is empty. If this would happen, you can collect 1 little helper from the supply as a consolation prize. You add that little helper to your supply, and you must hope that when it's your turn again, you now do have the matching cards to perform a harvest. If it would happen that nobody is able to play any cards and perform a harvest, this would also trigger the end of phase 2. Now that this part of the field is completely empty, it's time to perform that second and final scoring. On your player board, you can see how to perform this final scoring. First, you receive points for the flowers that you use to decorate yourself. You get 1 point for each moon lily, and you get 2 points for each sun thistle and orbit flower that you have used to decorate yourself. Each galaxy poppy awards you with 3 points. So I have 2 points for my moon lilies, my sun thistle and orbit flowers score me 8 points, and for my galaxy poppies I get 9 points. This makes for a total of 19 points. Now it's time to take a look at my Gloomie cards. Each Gloomie that is fully decorated scores me the amount of points that you can see in the top left corner. I have completed these first 2 cards. This one scores me 13 points and the other one scores me 8 points. I have not completed this last Gloomie card, so I can't score 13 points, but I also don't lose 13 points for not completing the card. So my 2 Gloomie cards score me 21 points. Next up are the Stardust tokens that you have collected during the game. Count all the Stardust tokens that you have collected during phase 1 and 2. You then take a look at the scoring table on your player board. These 4 Stardust tokens score me 8 points. To complete the second and final scoring, each player also gains 1 point for each little helper that they still have left in their supply. These 3 little helpers score me 3 points. Counting all these points together for phase 2 give me a score of 51 points, and adding these to the already 20 points that I have scored during phase 1 gives me a final score for the game of 71 points. Of course, at the end of the game, the person who collected the most points is the winner of Gloomies. In the event of a tie, the winner is the one who has decorated the most Gloomies. If there's still a tie, then the winner is the player who decorated the Gloomie with the highest point value. And if there would still be a tie, all players share the victory. This is all you need to know to set up and play Gloomies. If you like this video, please click the like and subscribe button. And you can always follow Meeplecare on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. This was Meeplecare, taking care of your meeple needs.